we're still stuck inside. So I say, embrace the space. One thing that I think is really kind of fun to do, whether you're a scientist or an artist or a writer or a mathematician, it doesn't matter. There's a couple of tools that really help you connect with the world. One of them is observation, right? Bringing things into your senses. What does it sound like? What does it smell like? What does it look like? And another way of connecting is being able to describe these things, right? So if I take something like measurement and I write things down and I make a measurement, I can send that to somebody on the opposite side of the world. They're not near me at all, but I can still send it to them and communicate. So basically, observation and communication. Today, we're going to talk about measuring. And we're going to measure stuff. Measure it up. Start with the room that you're in and measure it. All you need as a tape measure. If you don't have a tape measure, that's okay. You can get a piece of string and mark out a foot length and use that string as a measurement and measure your walls. Write it down in your notebook. Write down all the measurements, and then grab a piece of graph paper and you can draw the shape of your room, having a square represent a foot, so you can have an actual map of the room that you're in. So that's fun. Another thing that I think is kind of fun to do is measure your furniture, right? On a separate piece of paper, you can draw that out and have fun with it, color it, and then cut those pieces out, and then you can rearrange the room in your house without having to move anything until you get to an arrangement that you like, and then you arrange it. I move the furniture all the time. My family doesn't know what to expect from me. I just like that. Measure your room, then measure the whole house. And you don't even have to stay inside. You can go outside too. There's all sorts of fun things to do with measurement. So here's a tool that I think is kind of fun to do. I took an old cereal box. Whoop! I whipped off the back, cut it off, and then I've got these strips. I measured this. This is 10 inches. Down and 6 inches across. So what I did is I just measured half of 6 is 3, drew a line, half of 3 is 1.5, and I drew a line on both of those. So now I have 4 equal segments. And then I drew lines, and I'm going to cut these. And I'm going to make myself a frame, because another part of observation is having a little control over what you're looking at. Sometimes you go outside and someone says, go observe. It's like you don't even know what you're looking at, so it can be kind of confusing. But this I love, because this is a really fun tool to take outside and look at a small square of nature. So basically, I'm just going to tape these in place. And here's my frame. Okay, there's my frame. All right, should we go outside? Grab your ruler or your tape measure, grab your notebook and your pen and your frame. Let's go. All right, so here we are outside in my yard. It is not a very well mowed lawn, but I like it that way. So I've got my frame, and I'm just gonna lay it down on a little part of the yard here. Push it down so we can see it. And now I've got this beautiful framed section of the ground. It's my one small square. And so you might not even think about this when you're walking in the yard and walking by, but now that you've got a little square of it, you can see there are so many different species of plants growing here. Got these long, tall things with little green little nubbins on top. There's some clover in here. I don't know what these are. I'm sure they're all weeds, but I love them. There's some moss, and there's sticks, and there's pieces of pine cones. And so what I like to do is find your frame and then put it down. You're sort of measuring off a little section to look at, right? And now use your senses, observe. In this case, what do you hear doesn't make much sense unless you stick your ear down there. Oh, you can hear my dog. What does it smell like? What does it look like? What colors am I seeing? I'm seeing all sorts of different colored greens. And so I'm going to look at this, and then I'm going to take my notebook. I'm going to start writing what I see. I'm going to describe what I see. I'm going to say there are some tall, skinny stems with little nubbins. There's some grass. There's some clover. And I might draw the pictures of them and describe them and see if I can go identify them later on. I also might take a piece of graph paper and see if I can maybe even put these into sections and draw the actual square. So that's kind of fun. And you can take this anywhere. Maybe you don't have a lawn like this. Maybe you live near the woods or in a field or something like that. Take your frame wherever. You can take it to the beach. You can take it to a tide pool. You can take it, you could just take it to a path in a park and see what you can spot. Again, you're using your observation, you're using measurement, and you're using description. So mark off your square and then spend a little time. Just spend a little time watching and really look at the details, because I guarantee you're going to see things you never saw before. Like, I mean, have you ever really looked at moss closely? Or grass closely? And the thing is, if you sit here long enough, you're going to have other little visitors that come to this little small square too. I mean, just a second ago we had a huge bumblebee fly by. There might be ants crawling around in there. You might see a worm. You don't know. So again, spend some time watching, observe, write down what you see, draw what you see if you like. But it's just kind of a nice little way to have a little time with nature, doing some observation and some description. So that's today for What Now? Join me again tomorrow.